Hello and welcome to today's webinar, LS Forecast, Advanced Sales Forecasting for LS Central. My name is Martin Kleindl and I'm a product director at LS Retail, responsible for LS Fashion, replenishment and the intelligent cloud products. This webinar will be recorded and we will share the recording and the slide deck after the presentation with you. During the webinar, you can send in questions by using the GoToWebinar chat window. I will read and answer the questions in the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. And there will be also a small surprise for you at the end of the presentation. So stay tuned until the end. Every day, a retailer generates and gathers a vast amount of data. That data is one of the most important assets of the retail business. And it becomes increasingly important that we transform it into insights and processes that deliver true value. To overcome current and future challenges, retailers need to know their business, their customers, and they need to apply intelligence to the data. The solution is unified commerce technology infused with intelligence. So, let's have a look what is behind LS Retail's infused with intelligence offering. As of today, LS Retail's intelligent cloud stack consists of two solutions. First, we have LS Recommend, our basket analysis engine which recommends items for upselling based on your current basket. And then we have LS Insight, our cloud-based data warehouse and reporting platform built on Power BI. And today I'm very pleased to announce that we have a new member in the family of intelligent cloud products, LS Forecast. So, what is LS Forecast about? LS Forecast provides an answer to one of the big questions retailers have. And the question is, how many items of a specific product will I sell tomorrow, next week or next month? And why is this question important? Based on the answer, you define how many pieces to put in the shelves, in the stores and in the warehouse to avoid overstocking and understocking. If you are understocked, you could run into out-of-stock situations and lose sales and customer loyalty. If you're overstocked, you might need discounts and promotions to sell your stock, and this also affects your working capital. So it's very important to be able to predict your future sales. And how could this be done? Well, this is one approach. We do not recommend this, and this is of course not LS Forecast. Demand forecasting is a part of automatic replenishment in our LS replenishment suite, which is fully integrated in our retail solution. In demand forecasting, we cover already some calculation methods, but we learn from you, our customers and partners, that there is demand for more advanced methods. When we investigated this, we realized quickly that Business Central is not the right platform for that. An ERP solution is not providing the needed mathematical possibilities and calculation power. Therefore, LS Forecast extends the existing processes by outsourcing the sales forecast calculation to the cloud, while still being fully integrated with replenishment. Our goals: to provide you advanced statistical methods which are state-of-the-art, a turnkey solution with a seamless fit into replenishment, no integration challenges, an easy-to-use solution where no data scientists or experts are needed to operate it, and this all at a low entry level, a software as a service solution where you pay per use based on consumption, where you can start small and grow on the go. As I said, demand forecasting is part of automatic replenishment. And in automatic replenishment, we calculate periodically how many items we have in stock and how many items we have in open purchase, sales and transfer orders. We do this for all items in all warehouses and store locations. And then we compare this with the demand, and this leads to transfer order proposals to refill our stores or purchase order proposals to refill our warehouses. The demand calculation method usually differs between items. And when we look at the supported demand calculation methods, we have 4 methods that are built in LS Central. This means these are using CAL or AL program code. First, we have reorder point, which is based on actual stock and will trigger a proposal when the stock falls below a certain quantity. This traditional method is still very popular for items with stable demand and also to maintain display stock. Then we have like for like. This method replaces sold items and is a very good choice for items with a slow turn rate and intermittent sales. Something we see at luxury products, spare parts and slow movers. Manual estimate is used for new items that do not have a sales history yet. This method allows you to define how many items you expect to sell per store and per day, and replenishment will calculate the quantities you need on stock. Manual estimate is usually used only for a short period, because as soon as we have collected sales data, we would switch to our next method, which is average usage. Average usage calculates demand based on an item's sales history by calculating the average daily sales in a defined historical period. You are able to define how long you want to look back to calculate this KPI. An adaptive model holds multiple time horizons with different weights. This allows you to give the sales in, for example, last week, a higher weight compared to the previous weeks. By doing that, the calculation will respond to the latest changes in demand more quickly. Seasonal effects can be detected by comparing sales data with previous periods or seasons, and replenishment calendars allow you to map moving events like Easter, back to school, or the Mid-Autumn Festival between the years. We have had these methods in the replenishment suite for quite a while, and for a lot of scenarios they fulfill their purpose. And now, for advanced statistical forecasting, we have LS Forecast. LS Forecast is a software as a service solution built on Microsoft Cortana Intelligence Suite. Software as a service means that LS Retail is hosting and maintaining the solution for you on Azure. We set it up and you just connect to it and use it. LS Forecast is available for the current LS Central version 16, but also for our latest CAL version, which is 14.03. How does it work? When LS Forecast is set up, you firstly upload the sales history from LS Central to the cloud using LS Insight as data hub. Then you calculate the sales forecast in the cloud. Afterwards, you download the calculated sales forecast back to LS Central using web services, where this information is used in the replenishment journal calculation. But how is the forecast actually calculated in the cloud? When we designed LS Forecast, it was clear that this solution has to be an easy-to-use, turnkey solution. You should be able to use it without the need of data scientists, mathematic experts, or any other additional stuff. LS Forecast automatically selects the best statistical model for you from these 4 model families: additive blended, multiplicative blended, ARIMA, and seasonal ARIMA. ARIMA stands for autoregressive integrated moving average. This is one of the most advanced methods available to calculate time series. To calculate the best model, LS Forecast takes 80% of the sales history and calculates a sales forecast for the remaining 20%. Then it compares the calculated forecast with the actual sales data, which gives an information how well the model explains the real data. This is done for all models, and the one that gives the best result is selected automatically. Alternatively, you can specify the model in LS Central manually. What data is used when LS Forecast calculates sales forecasts? Item ledger entries hold the posted sales history and are the main ingredient in the calculation. This data is uploaded incrementally. Sales history adjustments are used in replenishment for corrections of the sales history. For example, when we need to adjust a biased sales history. Furthermore, sales history adjustments are used to simulate sales history. When we introduce a new item, we can reuse the sales history from another, already existing item to capture this behavior and apply multipliers. This approach also works for stores. And then we have out of stock days. It makes a huge difference if you have sold 0 pieces of an item in a store, if this was due to an out of stock situation or a normal behavior. So it's crucial to consider this information. These 3 data entities are uploaded periodically via LS Insight to LS Forecast. The base setup and the definition which items and locations should be considered is uploaded directly from LS Central via web services. Calculation is always on the most detailed level, which is item, variant, location, and date. Forecast granularity specifies the detail level of the forecast output. You can calculate forecasts on a day level, meaning that you will get quantities for tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and so on. Week level gives you aggregated forecast quantities which are broken down in LS Central. The forecast frequency specifies how often you calculate a forecast. This is controlled by the scheduler job, where you set up on which days and how frequent you run the calculation. Forecast granularity and frequency are not global settings. You have full flexibility to set up the rules for your items in an easy and simple way. LS Forecast batches allow you to group items with the same behavior. For each batch, you define the granularity, the level of detail, and the frequency, how often you want to calculate. For example, for our fast-moving product groups, dairy, bread, and fruits, these are combined into batch A, which is calculated on day-level granularity and calculated with a weekly calculation frequency. Another example is batch B, which holds MP3 players, DVDs, and speakers. These items are calculated on week-level granularity and weekly frequency. Batches help to reduce the setup and maintenance effort. It is important to understand the difference between the forecast frequency and the replenishment interval. The replenishment interval specifies how often you calculate the replenishment journals to get your purchase order and transfer order proposals to replenish your warehouses and your stores. The interval for the transfers usually depends on how often you send trucks from the warehouse to the stores. The interval for the purchase calculation depends on how often you send orders to the vendors. Forecast frequency specifies how often you calculate a sales forecast, and this is separate from the replenishment interval. The forecast frequency should be longer or equal than the replenishment interval. When you send trucks from the warehouse to the stores every Monday, it does not make sense to calculate the forecast every day. Once per week is enough. The mainstream opinion in the supply chain community is that the weekly frequency is sufficient for the majority of items and scenarios. A daily frequency makes sense for high volatile items if these items are also replenished in a daily interval. A forecast is a prediction, and it comes, like all predictions, with some uncertainty. For you, it is important to understand how trustworthy, how accurate a forecast is. The graph in the upper right corner shows a sales history. This is the line in blue color. And a sales forecast, which is shown as the line in orange color. This forecast is the best guess from the calculation engine. When you look a little bit closer, then you see two gray lines, which are the confidence bands. These bands tell us that at a defined service level, we expect the forecast to be between the upper and the lower line. In other words, based on the sales history and with a 95% safety, we can expect the future sales to be between these two limits. These lines can be seen as best and worst case scenario. The closer the two lines are, the more reliable a forecast is. This, in relation to the forecasted quantity, is a KPI for forecast quality. When you look at the second sales history, you see that the sales data is highly volatile. There are a lot of ups and downs in the chart. And we also see that the difference between the upper and the lower confidence band is much bigger than in the first chart. And this is a clear indicator that the first forecast is more trustworthy. When you calculate forecast, this might be for thousands of items in hundreds of stores, so it's impossible to look at all the individual results to detect poor forecasts. And therefore we have built a configurable dashboard which shows you the number of good, medium and poor forecasts in the role center. And this helps you to easily identify forecasts which are not trustworthy, and you need to take some actions on that. And we use this concept also for safety stock calculation. So, let's have a look at LS Forecast in action. I will just switch to my Chrome browser and maximize the screen. So what we see here is the role center that we are using for replenishment. Here in the menu bar you see functionality for planning, including our sales budgets, assortment planning, automatic replenishment, but also store-to-store redistribution. Here in the lower area we see a small dashboard for LS Forecast. I still have a calculation balance of 10,000 calculations, no usage until today, and of course there are no forecasts yet, so there are no good, medium or poor forecasts. So what is needed to set up stores and items to be used with LS Forecast? Let's start with the store locations first. So when we look at the store location, then this store location needs to be activated for automatic replenishment, and for LS Forecast we also need to activate it. So it's very easy and simple to activate locations. And for our items, when we have a look at items that are assigned to LS Forecast calculation, I will just apply this filter to LS Forecast as the replenishment calculation type and pick this Tim and Tina pants. So to activate the item to be used for LS Forecast, we need to assign it replenishment calculation method LS Forecast. And when we have done that, then we can provide some additional parameters that are relevant for LS Forecast. And one is the LS Forecast method. So here we can define if the solution in the cloud should automatically detect the best method, or if we want to set this up here already, we can define how far the system should calculate into the future, and we can define a confidence factor to define a service level for this item. So usually you have here A, B, C, D classifications for your most important items and for your least important items. And finally, you can activate the safety stock calculation. So it's not much that is needed. So we have the stores, we have the items, and lastly we need to define our LS forecast batches. So these are the groups of items that are put together and calculated in a certain interval. So in my example, I have a daily batch and a weekly batch, and this means that the weekly batch will be calculated based on a scheduler where I have set it up that it calculates every Sunday. But I can also calculate it manually. When I press this calculate forecast button, then this will trigger the process in the cloud to calculate the sales forecast for all the items. I did that before I started this webinar. So I can now check if the calculation is already finished. And yeah, it's finished and it's successfully. So what I can do now, I can download the forecast, and I have now retrieved the forecast values here in LS Central. But of course, if this is run with a scheduler job, then all these steps are executed automatically in a nightly job. So let's have a look at the forecast results. So these can be found in the LS forecast entries, and here we see for our items, for the store locations, that we have received forecast for tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, a forecasted quantity with the upper and the lower band, and also the forecast quality. So this is a very good number, and we have also information which of the methods have been automatically selected by the cloud process. With the download of this information, we see that we have consumed some of our setup balance of 10,000 calculations, and the current usage is now below 1%. But let's have a look on the graphical presentation of the forecast. And I go back to the items and again open this Tim and Tina pants, and here we have this sales chart, and this sales chart shows us with the green bars the sales history. We see a slight trend line, we see a peak on Saturdays and 0 sales on Sundays because the stores are closed here. And then on the right side we see with the 3 lines how well LS forecast has captured this sales behavior in the forecast. And we can of course change here how far we would like to look into the future. And this is an aggregated value. So this is aggregated across locations and variants. So when I select here a specific store and I get my store data, I can also see the development of the inventory stock over time, and I can see open documents. So open documents are unposted purchase orders here in the green bar, or unposted sales order with a future date. So this is could be a reservation for some items in the stores. And then we have also the possibility to show planned sales demand. So when we have promotions and discounts in the future, we can set this up that this will have an effect on the quantity that we are going to sell. So when I activate this, then I see that with these points that on this day I have a data point above the line, and when I click on that, then I see the reason there is a discount on that specific day, and someone has set up that there will be an additional percentage factor on top of the forecast, and it's 10%. So we expect to sell 10% more than usual on this specific day. And I can activate this here directly from this chart. So I can add here another planned sales demand for another day. And when this is enabled, then I see here the effect immediately in the chart. So it's not only visualizing information, it also shows what will happen in the future and gives me the possibility to interact with this data. Another example, how nicely LS Forecast detects sales pattern can be seen here with this floor speaker. So when we look at the sales chart, then we see a fast moving seasonality combined with a trend line. And again, here on the right, LS Forecast is able to capture this very nicely. And before I mentioned also that open to buy is information that we send up to the cloud. And this is also highly relevant in the calculation. So what we see here is the sales of an item with a trend line, so it's slightly increasing, but then here on May 6th we have a drop to 0 and no sales from that on. And the reason for that is an out of stock situation that can be seen here with this yellow triangle, and very likely a vendor has not shipped on time, so we ran empty in the stores. So when LS Forecast is calculating with out of stock days, it's interpolating the sales that did not happen, because it assumes that if we would have had the items, then the sales would just continue as it is. And this is what we see here. It predicts that when we get items back into the store, that this trend would just have been continued. So LS Forecast is providing us a lot of information here to look at, to understand how the system calculates, and it also gives us a good overview on the calculation itself. When we look here in details, then we see, so this is the calculation I started today in the morning. The upload and the sync for the master data took 2 seconds, and the calculation itself in the cloud took 11 minutes. And this will always take 10 minutes plus calculation, because we spin up the environment in the cloud, and this takes about 10 minutes. And then this is not just one calculation virtual machine, so we can activate thousands of virtual machines depending on the workload needed to calculate this forecast. So this is the reason why I started this before. So, but now let's go back to the presentation and have a look how you can get started with the solution. To implement LS Forecast, you need to follow these 4 steps. First, the prerequisites. To use LS Forecast, you need to have LS Insight installed to upload the sales history to the cloud. And automatic replenishment has to be set up so that you can calculate replenishment journals. Then reach out to us, to LS Retail, and order LS Forecast. We will spin up the LS Forecast cloud part for you and connect it with your LS Insight instance. This takes not longer than half a day, and we will provide you the access information for LS Forecast. You need to do some setup in LS Central as well, which is defining the batches and items and locations to be calculated with LS Forecast. This of course depends on the number of items and locations, but should not take longer than another half day. Now you can manually upload the data and the setup. Do a first calculation, download and review the results. The first upload might take longer depending on the sales history length. The following uploads are just incremental and consider only data that has not been uploaded yet. When the review is successfully done, you are ready for the last step. Just activate the scheduler jobs, and from now on LS Forecast will upload, calculate, download periodically. Replenishment will consider the forecast data when found and use it in the replenishment journal calculation. And then just add more items on the go. But how is the price model for LS Forecast? As mentioned before, we designed this as a flexible approach that grows with your needs. The pricing is consumption based, and we bill you at the end of the month. We count the forecasted SKUs, which stands for stock keeping units, and this is one calculation for one item for one location. Just take a very simple example. You have selected 100 items to be calculated with LS Forecast, and you have 10 stores. So these are 1000 combinations. And if you calculate weekly, this is 4 calculations per month. So in totals, this is 1000 times 4, and this is 4000 forecasted SKU. To invoice your consumption, we have 2 packages. The base pack covers the first 10,000 calculations. The additional pack, everything above. If you have performed 30,000 calculations in the current month, we will charge you 1 base pack and 2 additional packs. For partners, we have designed the evaluation pack, which gives you cheap access to the environment for testing, demos, etc. This pack is limited to 5,000 calculations and cannot be extended. The actual prices can be retrieved from our LS Intelligence price list on our partner portal. To track your consumption, we have built a usage monitoring dashboard for you. Here you can always track your current consumption and balance. LS Forecast calculation can be capped to a monthly limit. The system checks before calculating if the limit will be exceeded, and then depending on the setup, it will raise a warning or block the calculation. So let's revisit our goals and what are the key takeaways. On operation improvements, LS Forecast helps you to get more accurate forecasts by using advanced methods, and this leads to increased availability while reducing costly out-of-stock situations. And this will lead to an improved working capital and more accurate stock levels. The new sales chart gives you a better view on your data than before. And this all comes with a low entry risk. No hardware investment due to SaaS approach. No data scientists needed due to a turnkey, easy-to-use solution, which finds the best calculation method automatically. Just start with a few items and add more on the go. If you're not satisfied, something we don't hope and expect, but just stop using it, and we will decommission your environment after a while. And the calculation cap prevents you from bad surprises due to mistakes. Wait, I promised you something. I promised you a surprise at the end of the presentation. And actually it's a gift for you. If you want to try out LS Forecast now, we give you a 100% discount for the first 2 months on the LS Forecast base pack. This is the pack that covers the first 10,000 calculations. This promotion is valid from June 1st until end of December, and you have to be a LS Central customer on active enhancement plan or subscription. When you order LS Forecast, please do not forget to send the provided promo code LS Forecast 2002. So, don't wait too long and get your LS Forecast gift. Then, thank you very much for attending this webinar. It was a pleasure having you, and I look forward to meet you again in our coming LS Retail webinars. Have a nice rest of the day. Bye-bye and take care.